This week we've got some interesting price action on the yen pairs, pound yen resuming the upward trend, New Zealand yen, similar thing. And these are the pairs that we've got as the short list: pound yen bullish, New Zealand yen bullish, euro New Zealand bullish, pound Swiss bullish, New Zealand CAD bullish, Aussie New Zealand we've got both directions marked, and crude oil we've got bearish. So welcome to this week. My name is Dima. This is the weekly market outlook as usual on every Sunday. These are the charts that we're going to go through for this week and we're going to keep track of. Welcome. Good to have you. If you're here with me again, welcome back. And if it's your first time, then welcome as well. I'm sure you'll find this interesting and educational, and we're going to look at some high probability setups. Let's see what we've got happening this week. As always, I'm going to start with the calendar and then we'll go to the technicals. So to the calendar for the week, let's look at the overall picture and then what are the most high impact news for this week, the ones that we most want to pay attention to. What's most prominent? Well, Monday we start off with Bank of Japan news. We do have yen on our list, some other minor news there. On Tuesday we have a big deal from Royal Bank of Australia, the rate announcement there. That's on the Aussie. We've got some currency reserves on the Swiss, minor news on dollar. We've got inflation news on New Zealand, watching out for that. Speech on the pound. Fed chair speech on the dollar, watch out for that as well. What have we also got? Chinese yuan, I'm not really interested in that. Dollar unemployment claims. Got another Euro news there, speech from the ECB president, another speech on the dollar, another Aussie announcement, some more pound news, and another speech on the euro from the ECB there. What does that tell us? Well, we've got yen to watch for, definitely Aussie, some pound, New Zealand, and dollar. However, this week we do not have any dollar pairs on the short list apart from oil, which is linked to the dollar. So just that little note. But apart from that, what else we got? Euro, dollar, a bit of pound. Yeah, there's a few bits here to watch for. As usual, the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday is the interesting part. And on Tuesday, let's watch out for Aussie there. Okay, so that is the week. A few things to look for. It should be an interesting week. We are now in the second week of the month, which is typically an easier week to trade than the first week of the month as we get into the month proper. Let's have a look at the technicals. Let's begin and go through our short list. As always, going to start with the dollar, and let me just briefly discuss why we are not looking at the dollar pairs this week at the majors. This is why. First of all, we've got a new month. So what we need to do is to have an outlook for the month. Let's now reassess the whole thing. Delete what we had here. And what do we have on the monthly picture? Well, in the monthly picture, we still have bullishness with a pullback at the moment, currently as it stands in November. Now, are we going to go bearish? There is no confirmation yet. We don't know. We have this low to break. And then, yep, this low here. So a break of this low would indicate bearishness, but so far we don't know if this is a retracement, and we're going to go back up. Looking on the weekly, we've got this trend that has developed a kind of channel. And what do we do from here? Well, we can't do anything because we don't know whether we are bullish or bearish. This engulfing candle indicates, because it engulfs so many bars, that we are now at the moment bearish on the dollar. However, because of the overall bullish high time frame idea, I don't know whether this is high probability to trade in either direction. We also haven't reached the target that we had here, so let's see whether we follow through and break this low, which you can see on the monthly is the low of September, or we're going to continue reverse higher. So we're going to wait for that, and therefore there is just going to leave this alone for now and let it do its thing until we have more clarity. Not jumping in until the probabilities are in our favor. So more clarity there. Right. Saying that, let's now move on to the other pairs on the shortlist. Let's have a look at what we can see. Right, why have I picked pound yen? Well, monthly on the pound yen, as we're in a new month, we've got this pin bar, confirmation of continuation bullishness. We've got the next month, which is this month, opened. Looking on the weekly, we had a bit of a ranging price action, and then bam, we had this big engulfing candle, engulf 1, 2, 3 candles in the direction that we're looking at, and this big candle looks like the resumption in the upward trend. Obviously the next highs will be up here to look for, and to the left, and there's another one here. And if you look to the real higher time frame, much higher, let's go to the monthly, we've got this swing point up here to watch for. So that is that 1, 2, and target 3. And what does that mean? Well, looking down on the daily, we've got this swing point and looking to reach the first target, which is there. Obviously there's another one which is nearby. And what do we have? Well, we've got this swing point, we've got this low of Friday as the validation point, and then we have this zone here, which is the better price that we'd be interested in. Let's move down to the lower time frame, the 4-hour, and here is that zone, as you can see. So we have one zone here, and we actually have another one here. Therefore, the scenario will be either reaction from the first one, and obviously the better price would be preferable, and then from there going higher. We shall see what the market prefers, but this is the situation. And this will be the invalidation point, because we don't want to go lower than here. If we do, then we'll scrap this idea and reassess later in the week. This is the favored scenario, and let's see whether we get that better price. At the moment, we are really extended, really bullish, and that is an expensive price. Don't want to be buying up there. Really want to get a better price. So those are 2 reference points to watch for. This level and the lower one. Okay, next one on the list is New Zealand yen, and that is because it's a yen pair. We do have yen news as well. New Zealand news, looking at the monthly. What do we see with a new month? Well, we still see bullishness, no sign of a reversal. Last month, October, closed as an inside bar, therefore looking to continue to the next high, which is here. Then let's look to the left. What do we have? Well, we've got this high up here, and we've also got this high up here. We've got our targets now. Let's drop down to the weekly. As with the pound yen, similar thing, at a retracement, and now bam, continuing on that bullish momentum. Let's have a look at the lower time frame. Here's the daily. Where do we have a level? Well, we have a bit of a level over here, and there is a more minor level right here. Now, what do we see? What I see at the moment is this low, so that becomes our invalidation point. And once again, similar to the pound yen, it's really a similar process. We're going to look for a drop and continuing to the upside. Failing that day, got a drop here, and then further on. And then maybe other opportunities if you want to wait for a higher probability scenario is to wait for the actual turnaround and then the next swing to go higher, which if you want to look at the previous videos, other videos that I've had for the week, this is what we do over and over. And sometimes we don't quite catch the first go, the first entry, but we do have possibly other opportunities later in the week if we don't reach our targets before then. Okay, these are the ideas. Obviously, this low one is a better risk to reward, but we're so bullish, I don't know if it's going to get there. Let's see. The market will do what the market wants to do. We just manage our risk. Okay, if you like this video, click the like button and share your comments and ideas if you like, and we can have a look at them. For now, this is the New Zealand yen bullish. Let's move on to the next one. Next one on the list is Euro New Zealand, another familiar one. If you've been with me for a few weeks, we have been looking at this one and we have not reached the bullish targets. Bullish momentum, bullish month, previous month to continue. And this, what I'm looking at is this being a retracement. Obviously, you can see that this candle has not yet closed, which means that we do not know what this price action is, and we can just negate this candle, ignore it for now. Let's have a look on the lower time frame. Again, here's that swing. Here's that extreme low that created that turnaround. And now if we now look to the next area to enter, where do you think that would be? Well, if this indeed is a retracement, the next area will be the next level, and that is here. Here is our higher time frame swing point, and this low would serve as our invalidation point. Let's go to the lower time frame. What we'd like to do is we'd like to have this low. We'll see if the market breaches this low, and if we have a reaction of this level here, and let's just quickly delete this, and the idea would be to come into the area and then continue on its uptrend. We have had to wait for this quite a while because of this big bullish move. We're now having a retracement, and if we break this low, we'll look to see what we where the market wants to go to next. It's possible we will have this area, but we shall see. Let's see a good reaction of here, and going down into the lower time frame. Here's a reaction, and once we get a reaction, what we really want to see is a break of this high. Also break this high. What do we want? Well, you probably guessed it. I can't hear you. Yes, it's a break, pull back to a better price, and a continuation. And we've got these highs. This is our reference point. If we go below the invalidation, we do have some Euro speeches. We have New Zealand news. Let's see how that plays out. Better to wait for after the news if you really want a higher probability scenario to see what happens, and then play your part and engage in your method. Yep, this is the idea, and if it invalidates, we'll look at this area, but for now, this, what we've got here in this scenario, is the higher probability idea. Okay, once again, here's that monthly picture, here's that bullishness, here's that weekly picture, and I'm not seeing this as any clear reversal signal or reversal pattern, so I'll wait to see whether we have a continuation to the upside and then go from there. If you're hesitating, one little tip, if you like. If you're hesitating, the daily candles will be a clearer picture. So if you wait for the day to close and you see some kind of reversal, some kind of continuation, in this case the Euro New Zealand to the upside, then it's a kind of a safer, let's say, quote unquote, place to enter, because we have some kind of a confirmation, a momentum in the direction that we expect, rather than trying to catch a low. But obviously there will always be a better price or a better risk reward if you are confident. Now, these are just ideas, take them as such. Right, move on to the next one. Let's go to pound Swiss. Here we are, pound Swiss. What do we see here? Why have we got this one? Well, what we can see is that there is a major level here, which we rejected off last month. And now, if we have this rejection, ideally, or I should say typically, we should have some kind of continuation of that rejection. We also had a level here, we pierced right through it, and now you can see we are not close below, and this candle left this pin bar. Even though it is weak, it did leave a very, very long wick to the downside, which indicates and hints at a little bit of bullishness for now, at least in the short term. So let's just look at this week. Let's not try to predict, let's just see what we've got. Here's the pound Swiss. Here we've got that rejection. We've got that bullish price action. We've got a break here, which we have broken through. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. We've got this break. We have closed above it. And now we have this low as the low of last week. Where do we have our targets? Well, the next levels are up here. And then we've got this high, which you can see here. And then maybe later on this high here. But we shall see if it actually gets there. First of all, here are our nearest targets. Where are they? About 100, 150 pips away. Dropping down to the daily as always, top down. What do we have? Where we have this swing point. Here is our low, swing low, and therefore we do not want to invalidate that. So this becomes the invalidation. Now let's go down a time frame. And what do we have? Well, next obvious level, as you can see, is here. So, just zoom in a bit, let's make it a little bit clearer. What is the idea? You can probably guess. We want to see a pullback to a better price and then continuing upwards into the next levels. Validation point is set. And the other possibility, of course, is if we breach right through, if we get a better price, of course, I can hear you say pullback, cheaper price, and then continue from there. If there is some kind of interest over here, we do have a little bit of a level right here. So if that happens and we continue bullishness, even though we are a very, very kind of expensive price at the moment, if we continue there, then we'll look for this second idea. But this remains our invalidation, and we are bullish on pound yen and bullish on pound Swiss. You may want to be careful and manage your risk if you're thinking of trading them both at the same time, because if the pound turns out not to be bullish and reverses, then you will have a loss in both, seen as we are bullish on the pound for this week. Hope that makes sense. Okay, pound Swiss, that's what it is. Right. Let's now look at New Zealand CAD. Now, New Zealand CAD is an interesting one. It's one we looked at a few weeks ago. If you remember, let's have a quick look, just have a quick recap. And this was our invalidation. We went right through all our levels and invalidation, and we just went much, much lower than expected. That was, well, a bit of a surprise, if I say so myself. It is what it is, and that's why we have our stops in place, we have a risk management in place, because you never know what happens. However, However, just observe this carefully. Looking on the monthly, once again, we're going to look at the monthly. We had a cheap price point here on the big monthly time frame. We had this pin bar reversal. We marked out this low as the turning point low. It is indeed that's the case here. The previous month ended up with this price action to the downside, and which is what we saw on the weekly. And because it did not close below and we remain bullish, the bullishness has now re-established itself in the bullish direction, in the expected direction, and you can see that by this huge big momentum weekly candle. Now let's resume what we looked at before, which is these highs as targets, the next high here, which I think is on the daily time frame. We've also got the obvious extreme high here. And now what we can do is drop down a time frame. Now that we have our idea, we looking at where we're going. Let's look at our levels. We've got a level here, and we have a bit of a level here. Our invalidation becomes the last obvious low. So on the daily, it is down here. And now let us see whether we have a better price in the market. Continuation and moving to the upside to hit the next levels. I quite like this one for this week purely because we have maintained the higher time frame picture. If we invalidate this low, let's see if we have a break. So that will be the first, if you like, first invalidation. So we'll put that as a question mark for now because we'll see what the market does. However, this will be the first sign. We'll go lower, and this will be the extreme invalidation. Really don't want to be trading if it goes below here. We'll be totally uninterested. With this bullishness continuing, I would look for a better price, of course, continue to the upside, and this will be the idea to buy the New Zealand CAD. Looks interesting this week, I have to say, especially with all these levels to the upside. And here is the level, all these lows, highs, swing high, swing high, high, high. Really interesting and a really decent risk to reward here. So do like the look of this one, I must say. Okay, that's the weekly on New Zealand CAD. Let's move on to the next chart. Aussie New Zealand. Also one we looked at last week. However, I believe we did not have an opportunity there because we reached our targets. Here is the monthly candle, big bullish candle engulfing 1, 2, 3 previous months going in the bullish direction. We have this bullish momentum, a bit of a pause, a bit of ranging price action, and this big bullish bar came in. Now, step down, looking on the weekly, big momentum to the upside. We hit our levels last week. Let's now delete them because they're not relevant. And it looks like last week we have a reversal candle closing bearish on the weekly. Now, what does that mean? We have a high time frame bullishness, but lower time frame bearishness, at least as an indicator. So in this case, we're going to be flexible. We're going to do something we don't usually do, which is consider both scenarios. How are we going to do that? Well, here was the high. Here was the close of the week. We've got this structure being broken. Which indicates that we want to go lower. We have our level marked out, which the market never reached into. This was the higher time frame idea, which is the preferred scenario, the real preferred scenario, with this being invalidation. And this is the bullish. However, since we are looking like we are bearish for now, we're going to consider also at the same time being flexible a bearish idea, which is on this level here. And if we have that pullback to get a better price, the invalidation point would be this obvious high up here. Therefore, here we have the preferred bias, and then we have the bearish idea to go into our level. And if we do have the bearish idea, well, you can see the previous lows. There's one here, and there's one here, and one here, and of course ultimately this level on the higher time frame. Now, if that does not happen, and we then break this invalidation, what do you think? Well, of course, since as we are bullish, we'll be looking at a third possibility, which is unusual, but I'm going to go with what the market is telling us. This idea, which is a break, pulling back, getting a better price, and continuing if we create a low during the week. Again, we've got news, Aussie news, major news on Tuesday, New Zealand speeches and news. So really, Aussie news is one to watch out for, because we've got both Aussie and New Zealand news at the same week. And yeah, the volatility can kick in. Wouldn't be surprised if it does. That is the Aussie New Zealand chart. Not one we usually look at because it is a bit of a funny pair, and you can see, as I was saying last week, very choppy, funny price action. Okay, let's move on to US oil, and crude oil is the last one on the list. We have had all these targets met from previous weeks. Let's now not worry about them. Let's look on the monthly. What do we see on the monthly? Well, we've got a big bearish candle, and we have broken the low, continuing lower. So it seems that we may be in this retracement phase. Let's have a look on the weekly. Weekly closed bearish, breaking these lows, and now we're going to continue to the downside because of that. Here is the next low. You know how it goes. Here are our next target points. Just looking to the left, looking at the lows. We've reached our high point here. We have now had this swing, continued lower, broken lower, and what are we going to look at now? Well, we're going to look to the downside, of course. Here's the weekly picture. I've got swing here, swing high here, and this looks to be the next swing high, engulfing 1, 2, 3, 4 candles. Therefore, we shall take this high from Friday as the invalidation point. Looking on the lower time frame, if this is the high, the next level to look for is up here. If you want to draw a fib, you can draw a fib from low to the high. You can see this is obviously the beyond the halfway mark, the expensive part, but the idea would be like so. Obviously a better price, and then continuing to the downside. So that is oil. And if we breach this high, we're going to reassess, and we may have this high as a reference point, but we shall see later on if this high is breached, and we will reassess. And at the moment it's kind of a ranging behavior, but we do have the downside. We favor the downside, which is why I'm looking at this idea. Let's just zoom out again. Once again, let's have a look at that. And here it is. Here we've got our idea, we've got our scenario to the downside. Let's have a look at an alternative as well. The alternative is, you can probably see, which is a break, pulling back, and then continuing to the downside. And then the zone be down here. So you've got scenario A, scenario B, and if they invalidates, then we're not going to consider that anymore. Until we reassess later in the week, of course, Tuesday and Thursday. Okay, so those are the charts for this week. I believe we have now gone through the shortlist, got our target points, and yet we are back with the dollar, which is the uncertain one. And that is it for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Make use of the opportunities. Watch out for the week's news as always, and I shall see you in 2 days for Tuesday and then a few more days for the Thursday update analysis. All right, guys, hope this has been useful for you, and see you on the next one. All right, bye for now.